the planet Mustafar burned with fire and smoke. Rivers of lava flowed like molten oceans, and the ground rumbled as if the world itself was angry. On a black rock ledge, surrounded by the heat and ash, lay Anakin Skywalker. Just minutes earlier, he had dueled Obi-Wan Kenobi, the man he once called his brother. They fought with lightsabers across platforms, droids, and lava banks in one of the fiercest battles the galaxy had ever seen. But it ended in tragedy for Anakin. Obi-Wan struck him down, slicing away his legs and one of his arms. Now, Anakin was nothing but a broken body, lying helpless at the edge of a lava river. Obi-Wan had walked away in pain and sorrow. He couldn't bring himself to kill Anakin, even though he knew his former apprentice had turned to the dark side. He picked up Anakin's blue lightsaber, once a symbol of hope, and left him behind. Now Anakin was alone. His body was scorched by fire, and his lungs gasped for every breath. The pain was so overwhelming that anyone else would have given up right then and there. But Anakin Skywalker was not like anyone else. His anger, his hatred, his desperation, they refused to let him die. I won't end here, he thought. His eyes, glowing yellow with the corruption of the dark side, burned just as fiercely as the lava around him. He thought of Obi-Wan, of the Jedi who betrayed him, and of his wife, his secret love whose life he still wanted to save. That's when he saw it, a glimmer in the sky. Through the haze of smoke, Anakin spotted the shining metal of a starship descending. His heart leaped. It was Palpatine's shuttle. At last, his master had come for him. Anakin was sure he would be saved, rebuilt, made strong again. His pain would finally end. The shuttle touched down on the blackened rock, its wings folded up, and the ramp lowered. Emperor Palpatine emerged, his hood casting a shadow over his pale, wrinkled face. 2 clone troopers marched behind him, their blasters ready. Anakin tried to call out, but his throat was dry, his voice broken. His body twitched helplessly on the ground. He was sure Palpatine would order the clones to carry him aboard and rush him to medical care. But that's not what happened. The Emperor stopped a few feet away and looked down at his apprentice with cold, yellow eyes. He didn't see a warrior. He didn't see the chosen one. He saw a failure. Lord Vader! Palpatine said slowly, his voice dripping with disappointment. I am most displeased by your failure. Anakin wanted to speak, to beg, but the words wouldn't come. 4 years, Palpatine continued. I groomed you to be my apprentice, my right hand, the future of the Sith. And yet, he paused, sneering. You could not even defeat the pathetic Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anakin's heart sank. His master, his only ally left, wasn't here to help him. He was here to judge him. As punishment for your weakness, Palpatine said, his voice turning into a cruel whisper, I will leave you here. To rot? He leaned closer so Anakin could see the twisted grin across his face. Such failures will not be tolerated in my empire. Die well, Lord Vader. Then he turned away. The clones, confused but obedient, followed their emperor back onto the shuttle. The ramp closed. The engines roared. And before Anakin could even process the betrayal, the ship lifted into the smoky sky and disappeared. Silence returned. The only sound was the bubbling, spitting of the lava nearby. The heat pressed down on Anakin, burning what was left of his body. But now something inside him snapped. Rage. Not just at Obi-Wan, not just at the Jedi, but at Palpatine. The man he had trusted, the man he had given everything to had abandoned him like garbage. Anakin's hatred boiled hotter than the lava surrounding him. I won't die here, he swore in his mind. Not for him. Not for anyone! He remembered again. Was she alive? Had Obi-Wan lied? Was Palpatine lying? He had to know. He had to keep going. Even if his body was destroyed, his will refused to break. Slowly, painfully, Anakin began to crawl. His scorched hands dug into the black rock as he dragged himself away from the lava bank. Every movement tore at his body. Every breath rattled in his chest. But the dark side whispered to him, fueling him, feeding his rage. He wasn't crawling just to survive. He was crawling to rise again. And this time, when he did, he would make everyone pay! The shuttle was gone. The sound of its engines faded into the thick smoke of Mustafar's sky, leaving only the bubbling roar of lava and the crackle of flames. Anakin Skywalker lay broken on the ground, his body scorched, his limbs severed. His chest rose and fell in shallow, ragged breaths. The heat was unbearable. It felt like the very air wanted to kill him. Each time he inhaled, it burned his throat and lungs. Every nerve in his body screamed for him to stop moving, to surrender, to let death take him. But Anakin was not ready to die. Not here. Not like this. He thought of Palpatine's words, of that twisted grin as the Emperor turned away. Die well, Lord Vader. The betrayal cut deeper than Obi-Wan's blade ever could. The man who promised him power, who promised him the ability to save, had left him to burn. Hatred swelled inside of him. Hatred for Obi-Wan, who had crippled him. Hatred for Palpatine, who had abandoned him. Hatred for himself, for being too weak to stop any of it. It was that hatred that gave him strength. With a groan that sounded more like a growl, Anakin slammed his burnt hand against the sharp volcanic rock and pulled himself forward. Every inch he moved toward his flesh, but he refused to stop. He was no longer crawling as a man. He was dragging himself forward as a beast fueled by rage. He told himself he had a purpose. He had to live long enough to find she was the only light left in his life, and if she was still alive, then he could not give up. But where could he go? The lava plains of Mustafar stretched endlessly, offering nothing but death. Yet Anakin remembered the Separatist Council chamber, the war room where he had slaughtered the leaders of the Confederacy only hours earlier. If he could make it back there, perhaps he could scavenge something. Tools, technology, anything that might help him survive. The journey would not be easy. The chamber was far, and he had no legs to carry him. But Anakin's fury burned brighter than his pain. So he crawled. Hour after hour, he dragged his body across the jagged ground. His burnt skin scraped against blackened stone. His stomach twisted with hunger. His throat begged for water, but there was none. All he had was the dark side whispering in his mind, telling him to keep going. Every time his body tried to shut down, he forced it awake with sheer rage. "I will not die here," he muttered through cracked lips. "I will not." The hours stretched into days. He lost track of time. Sometimes he hallucinated seeing Obi-Wan's face hovering above him, hearing his voice calling his name. Each time, he shook the visions away and pressed onward. His body should have failed long ago, but his hatred was too strong. The more he suffered, the more his connection to the dark side grew. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the jagged outline of the Separatist war room appeared through the haze. Anakin's ruined body shook with exhaustion, but his will roared with triumph. He had made it. Dragging himself through the doorway, he entered the same chamber where he had massacred the Separatist leaders. Their bodies still lay where they had fallen, stiff and lifeless, their expressions frozen in terror. The stench of death filled the room, but Anakin didn't flinch. Death no longer meant anything to him. He scanned the chamber, searching desperately. Scattered across the floor were the remains of droids be, one battle droids broken during his earlier slaughter. Anakin's eyes locked onto the pieces. Legs, arms, wiring, metal plating. Hope flickered. Summoning the last of his strength, he dragged himself to one of the droid corpses and tore it apart with trembling hands. His fingers, burned and raw, bled as they worked, but Anakin ignored the pain. Piece by piece, he began constructing makeshift limbs for himself. It was crude work. He had no proper tools, no medical knowledge. But Anakin had always been a builder. From the time he was a boy on Tatooine, crafting droids and pod dressers, he had been a genius with machines. Now that skill was his only chance. With grim determination, he attached droid legs to his shattered body. They were clumsy and weak, but enough to support him. He added a simple arm, more mechanical claw than hand. It wasn't elegant, and it certainly wasn't comfortable, but it gave him movement again. When he finally stood, unsteady but upright, Anakin felt a surge of triumph. He was still alive. He had beaten death. Each step was agony. The makeshift droid parts weren't built for him, and they required constant focus through the Force to function. Still, Anakin refused to stop. He glanced at the dead separatists around him and muttered, "You all thought you could run this war? You thought you had power. But look at you now. Look at me. I am still here." But as he looked at his reflection in a shattered piece of metal, his burned face hidden beneath charred skin and hatred-filled eyes, he realized he couldn't remain this way. If he wanted to get revenge, he needed more than scraps. He needed real power. That meant leaving. Gathering his strength, Anakin turned and began the long march back toward his starship, the same Jedi fighter he had landed with before the duel. It was his only way off this cursed world. As he walked, his gaze fell upon something lying in the ash. His old Jedi robes, discarded during his battle with Obi-Wan, his lips twisted into a cruel smile. Perfect! He pulled the robes over his scorched body, the fabric hiding his burns and his droid-like limbs. The Jedi were gone, but their robes would now serve him as a disguise. Step by painful step, Anakin headed toward his ship. His destination was clear: Coruscant. There, he would begin his true rebirth. The ruined halls of the Jedi Temple echoed with Anakin's footsteps. His new armor clanked with every movement, and his breathing mask hissed steadily, each inhale and exhale sounding like a predator stalking prey. The Grand Inquisitor walked behind him in silence, afraid to speak. Anakin's rage still burned hotter than Mustafar's lava. His reason for everything was gone. Sidious had lied to him, manipulated him, and abandoned him. If she was truly dead, then nothing mattered but revenge. They reached the training dormitories, where once the laughter of younglings had filled the air. Now, the silence was heavy. The doors creaked open, revealing rooms filled with dust, ash, and overturned beds. For a moment, it seemed abandoned. Then, a sound. A faint whimper. Anakin's head snapped toward the noise. His yellow eyes glowed beneath the shadow of his hood. He strode forward, shoving a bunk aside with the Force. Two young Jedi younglings crouched behind it, their small faces pale with fear. They had survived the massacre, hiding for days without food or water. When they saw him, they trembled, recognizing the monster that had once been their protector. Please," one whispered, his voice shaking. "Don't hurt us!" Anakin's voice was cold and sharp. "Do not worry, young ones. This will all feel like a bad dream." He raised his hand. The Force wrapped around their throats. Their eyes widened as they gasped for breath, clutching at invisible fingers. In moments, their small bodies went limp. They were gone. The Grand Inquisitor froze, his face pale. He had expected ruthlessness, but this was something darker. Anakin didn't even flinch. He felt no hesitation, no regret. Anakin looked down at their still body. In his mind, he told himself this was mercy. The Jedi had betrayed him. They had taken everything from him. Why should their young survive? Wen was dead. His gaze fell upon the weapon lying near one of the younglings. A lightsaber. He bent down and picked it up, turning the smooth hilt over in his hand. He ignited it. A brilliant blue blade flared to life, humming with the energy of the Force. For a moment, the sight struck him. This was the weapon of the Jedi. He once was the weapon of hope. But Anakin Skywalker was gone. Now, there was only Vader. With cold precision, he deactivated the blade and pried open the hilt. The kyber crystal inside pulsed faintly, glowing with its pure blue light. Anakin stared at it, his eyes narrowing. He remembered what Sidious had once whispered to him about the dark side, that kyber crystals could bleed, that a Sith could pour their hatred, their pain, their fury into the crystal, twisting it until it turned red. He clenched the crystal in his hand. His breathing grew heavy, each inhale like a growl, each exhale like fire. S face flashed before him, her smile, her tears, the moment he believed she had betrayed him. Obi-Wan's voice rang in his head, condemning him, cutting him down on Palpatine's cruel laughter echoed, mocking him for his weakness. All of it fueled his rage. He closed his eyes, reaching deep into the dark side. He poured everything into the crystal, his heartbreak, his hatred, his desire for vengeance. The light within the crystal flickered, then warped. Its blue glow darkened, cracking with veins of crimson. Anakin roared, forcing his rage deeper. His pain was unbearable, but he welcomed it. Every scream of his soul made the crystal bleed more. Until finally, the crystal shone red. He opened his eyes, which burned with orange and yellow fire. The kyber crystal was no longer pure. It was corrupted, just like him. Anakin slid the crystal back into the hilt and sealed it shut. With a snap hiss, the blade ignited once more. This time, it glowed a deep crimson, bathing the dormitory in red light. The hum of the saber was lower, darker, filled with hunger. The Grand Inquisitor, watching from behind, could barely breathe. He had seen Jedi turn. He had seen Sith rise. But never had he seen someone bleed a crystal before his eyes. Vader held the saber before him, the red glow reflecting in his mask. For the first time since Mustafar, a grim smile tugged at his lips. Now he was whole. Now he was armed. He turned to the Inquisitor, his voice dripping with venom. We confront the Emperor at once. The Inquisitor hesitated, fear creeping into his voice. But, Lord Vader, Sidious is far more powerful than either of us. To face him directly, do not question me! Anakin snapped. His crimson blade hissed as he pointed it toward the Inquisitor's chest. I will have my revenge! If you stand with me, you may live to see a new empire. If not, then you will die with him. The Inquisitor swallowed hard, then bowed. Yes, Lord Vader. Vader deactivated his saber, the room plunging back into darkness. He turned toward the exit, his breathing echoing steadily through the silent halls. In his mind, only one thought remained. Sidious had taken everything from him. Now, he would take everything from Sidious. The crimson glow of Vader's new lightsaber had barely faded when he stormed out of the Jedi dormitories. His armor clanked with every step, his mask hissed with every breath, and his rage pulsed like a living fire inside of him. The Grand Inquisitor followed cautiously, his eyes fixed on the black-cloaked figure ahead. Just hours earlier, he had believed Vader to be nothing more than a burned corpse, abandoned by the Emperor. Now he saw something far worse, an unstoppable force of anger, held together by hate and the dark side. Vader's voice cut through the silence as they walked. Prepare your shuttle. We leave for the Imperial Palace immediately. The Inquisitor hesitated. Lord Vader, you know what awaits us. The Emperor is not like the Jedi. He will not hold back. Vader stopped in his tracks. Slowly, he turned, the glow of his mask reflecting in the dim light of the temple. His crimson saber ignited with a snap hiss, pointing straight at the Inquisitor. Do you doubt me? The Inquisitor's throat tightened. No, my lord, I only mean... You mean to question my strength? Vader's voice was low and venomous. Do not mistake my scars for weakness. Palpatine betrayed me. He promised me. And now she is gone. He will pay for that betrayal, and nothing will stop me. Not you! Not his guards! Not even death itself! The Inquisitor bowed quickly, sweat forming at his brow. Forgive me, Lord Vader. I am with you. Vader deactivated his saber and turned away. Good. Then do not waste time. Prepare the shuttle. The next morning, Coruscant buzzed with excitement. Crowds gathered outside the Jedi Temple as it was being transformed into the new Imperial Palace. Tall banners bearing the black sigil of the Empire were draped over the ancient walls. Tomorrow! The Emperor himself would appear to declare his reign to the galaxy. But deep within the shadows, Vader and the Grand Inquisitor moved unseen. The Inquisitor had secured a small shuttle hidden away from Imperial eyes. As they prepared to board, Vader looked back at the towering temple, now desecrated with the symbols of the Sith. Once, this had been his home. Once, he had walked these halls as a protector of peace. Now, it was a monument to everything he had destroyed. He clenched his fist. The Jedi are gone. And soon, so will Sidious. The Inquisitor shifted uneasily. He wanted power, yes, He wanted freedom from the Emperor's iron grip, but to betray Sidious outright was suicide. Still, one glance at Vader silenced his doubts. The man's rage was terrifying. If anyone could stand against the Emperor, perhaps it was him. Inside the shuttle, Vader sat in silence as the craft lifted into the skies of Coruscant. The city lights glowed beneath them, endless towers stretching toward the heavens. He closed his eyes, his mind filled with images. Smile, her final breath. Obi-Wan's blade cutting him down. Palpatine's mocking laughter. Every thought twisted into hate. Every memory sharpened into a blade. The Grand Inquisitor finally broke the silence. My lord, you should know. The Emperor will not face you alone. His guards, his power, his mastery of the dark side. Vader's head turned slowly, his mask hissing. You still doubt me? No! The Inquisitor stammered. But we must have a plan! A strategy! The plan, Vader said, his voice a growl, is simple. I strike him down, and when he falls, this galaxy will kneel to me. The Inquisitor said nothing more. The chamber shook with tension as crimson blades ignited, casting their red glow across the dark marble floors. Emperor Palpatine stood at one end, his yellow eyes gleaming with sadistic amusement. At the other, Darth Vader ignited his own scarlet blade, the Grand Inquisitor hesitantly stepping forward and spinning his double-bladed saber into motion. For a moment, the three Sith simply stared at each other. The silence was deafening until Palpatine broke it with laughter. So, he hissed, his grin stretching wide, the broken Jedi thinks himself strong enough to challenge me. And you, Grand Inquisitor? A dog nipping at the Master's heels. How amusing! Vader's chest heaved beneath his armor, his mask hissing with every breath. This ends tonight. Sidious. 4. For everything you took from me, Sidious tilted his head mockingly. 4. Foolish boy. She was lost the moment you gave yourself to me. You should thank me, her. Death freed you from weakness. Vader roared, charging forward, his crimson blade striking with raw fury. Sparks exploded as it clashed against Palpatine's saber. The impact rattled the chamber, shaking its pillars. The Grand Inquisitor joined in, his spinning double blade slicing toward the Emperor's flank. But Sidious was ready. With a speed that defied his age, he twisted, blocking Vader with one blade and the Inquisitor with the other. His movements were fluid, unnatural, fueled by the dark side. The duel erupted in a storm of strikes and counters. Vader pressed forward with brutal strength, every swing of his blade heavy with hatred. The Inquisitor danced around him, attacking with precision and speed. But Sidious was faster than them both. His strikes were calculated, his movements almost playful. It was as if he was toying with them. Vader's frustration grew. Every attack was blocked, every strike turned aside. His heavy armor slowed him, his body still unfamiliar with its new weight. The Inquisitor, though skilled, was clearly outmatched. Sweat dripping down his face as the Emperor's laughter echoed in his ears. Pathetic Sidious sneered as he parried their blows. You dare dream of overthrowing me? You are nothing. Both of you. With a sudden burst of speed, he pushed Vader back with the Force, sending him crashing into a pillar. The chamber shook as the marble cracked. The Grand Inquisitor lunged in desperation, his spinning blade whirling toward the Emperor's throat. Sidious's grin widened. In an instant, his free hand shot forward. Blue lightning crackled from his fingertips, slamming into the Inquisitor's chest. The man screamed, his body convulsing as the electricity seared through him. His saber clattered to the floor as he collapsed, smoking and twitching. Did you really think you could take the place of Lord Vader? Sidious hissed. You are a tool, nothing more. And tools break. Vader, groaning, forced himself to his feet. His armor creaked, sparks flickering from his joints. His saber hummed angrily as he raised it once more. This isn't over! Vader bellowed, charging again. The duel became one-on-one, master against apprentice. Vader swung with all his strength, but Sidious deflected each blow effortlessly, his laughter echoing like thunder. Your hatred makes you strong, Sidious mocked, but your body is weak. You are a shadow of what you could have been. I'll kill you! Vader roared, bringing his blade down with enough force to split the floor. Sidious sidestepped with ease, his own saber flashing in a blur. Suddenly, Sidious dropped one blade and raised his hand. Blue lightning erupted once more, crashing into Vader's chest. The Sith Lord screamed, his body convulsing as the energy coursed through him. His armor sparked wildly, his systems overloading. He fell to his knees, his saber clattering to the ground. The Grand Inquisitor lay nearby, still alive but broken, his eyes wide with horror. He had believed Vader could defeat Sidious, but now he saw the truth. The Emperor was untouchable. Sidious slowly approached Vader, his grin never fading. Do you see now, my apprentice? Do you understand? You are nothing without me. You exist because I allow it. Vader gasped, forcing himself upright, his mask sparking from the damage. You left me to die. Yes, Sidious said coldly, and yet you survived. That was your test, and you passed. All this! He gestured to the fallen Inquisitor. The destroyed chamber was to prove your loyalty. Your pain, your loss, your anger, these are your gifts, Lord Vader. With them, you will become unstoppable. Vader's breathing rattled. His fists trembled with both rage and despair. He whispered. Sidious leaned close, his grin spreading wider. She is gone. And nothing not, even the Force can bring her back. But her death has given you power. Embrace it. Serve me once more, and together we will rule this galaxy as master and apprentice. Vader's eyes burned with fury. He wanted to strike. He wanted to tear Sidious apart. But his body failed him. His strength shattered. The choice was clear. Slowly, with trembling hands, Vader picked up his saber and bowed his head. I will join you. Sidious's laughter filled the chamber, cruel and triumphant. Good, very good. Now, Lord Vader, rise. Your true destiny begins. The chamber reeked of smoke and ozone, the aftershock of force lightning still humming in the air. Broken marble littered the floor, guards lay dead in the halls beyond. And the Grand Inquisitor's body twitched in pain as he struggled to breathe. At the center of it all, Darth Vader knelt, his armor sparking, his crimson blade dimmed at his side. Above him loomed Emperor Palpatine, eyes glowing like twin suns of hatred, his twisted smile wide with victory. Vader's voice rasped through his mask. You betrayed me. You left me to die. Palpatine's laughter echoed through the vast chamber. Yes? And do you know why, my apprentice? Vader's fists clenched, the servos in his mechanical hand screeching, because I failed you. No, Sidious said softly, stepping closer, his boots clicking against the broken stone. Because you were weak. Your love for your master. Your love for your wife. Your love for the Jedi Order. All of it held you back. So I left you in the fire, to see if the fire would consume you or forge you. Vader's head lowered. His breathing mask hissed steadily, like the growl of a beast. And I survived. Yes, Sidious whispered, his grin stretching wider. You survived, and in doing so, you proved yourself worthy. Your pain, your suffering, your hatred, these are your greatest strengths. That is why I did not seek another apprentice. I waited for you to rise. The Grand Inquisitor, still on the floor, forced out a hoarse whisper. He used you. He used us both. Sidious turned, his face twisting into a snarl. He raised his blade and, without hesitation, plunged it into the Inquisitor's chest. The man gasped once, then fell silent, smoke curling from the wound. Tools that outlive their purpose, Sidious said coldly, are discarded. Vader's gaze lingered on the fallen Inquisitor, then rose back to Sidious. And what if I am just another tool to you? Sidious leaned close, his eyes piercing. Then become more than a tool. Become the weapon that reshapes the galaxy. Serve me, and no one will ever betray you again. Vader trembled, torn between rage and despair. He thought of Her smile, her warmth, the promise of a future together. That future was Ash, now. His unborn child, gone. His order, destroyed. All he had left was hate. Sidious's voice slithered like venom into his ears. Is dead. The Jedi are dead. The galaxy has turned against you! Who remains? Lord Vader? Who is left but me? The truth struck harder than any blade. Palpatine was right. There was nothing else. The dark side had trapped him, twisted him, and now it offered the only path forward. Vader bowed his head. I will serve. Palpatine's laughter filled the chamber, high and cruel. Good. Very good. You are learning my apprentice. He stepped back, his grin gleaming in the crimson light. Rise, Lord Vader. Rise and embrace your destiny. Vader stood, his armor heavy, his breathing steady. His crimson blade hissed back to life, its red glow bathing the chamber. But his thoughts were no longer of Obi-Wan, no longer even of the Jedi. All that remained was power. The chamber was silent now. The Grand Inquisitor's body lay still, the last sparks of his saber fading into darkness. Only the hum of Vader's breathing mask filled the air slow, steady, mechanical. Palpatine stood before him, hands folded, eyes gleaming. His laughter had faded into a cruel smile. You see now, Lord Vader? The galaxy is ashes, and from those ashes, you will rise. But only if you embrace your pain. Vader's crimson blade glowed at his side. His body ached from battle. His armor burned from Sidious's lightning. And yet, standing there, he felt a strange clarity. The Jedi were gone. Was gone. Obi-Wan had abandoned him. The only thing that remained was power. Vader's voice growled through his mask. Then teach me. Show me how to become stronger! Sidious's grin stretched wider. Yes, that is the spirit. Your anger, your grief, your hate, they are gifts. You tried to use them to save your wife, to protect what you loved. But love is weakness. Power is strength. Only when you abandon what you lost can you grasp what is yours. Vader lowered his head, his fists trembling. For a moment, the image of S' face flickered in his mind. Her smile, her laughter, her last words on Mustafar. There is good in him. The memory cut deep. But Palpatine's voice was louder. She is dead, the Emperor hissed. Your child is dead. The Jedi are dead. Cling to them. And you remain weak. Accept their loss, and you will become unstoppable. Vader's breathing deepened, the hiss of his mask echoing in the chamber. He closed his eyes, and one by one, the memories have slipped from him. Not forgotten, but buried beneath a mountain of rage. When he opened his eyes again, they glowed yellow with the fire of the dark side. I accept! He said, his voice low and cold. Sidious's laughter erupted once more. Cruel and triumphant. Good! Very good. You are no longer Anakin Skywalker. That name belongs to a weak, broken man. You are Lord Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, my apprentice, my heir. Vader lifted his saber, the crimson blade humming in agreement. Then let us begin. Sidious raised his hands, the shadows of the chamber swirling around him. Yes! We will forge you into something greater. This suit you wear is crude, rushed. I will give you new armor, stronger, more powerful. Your pain will remain, but it will sharpen you, keep you bound to the dark side. Vader said nothing. He simply bowed his head in acceptance. From this day forward, Sidious declared, his voice booming like thunder, you will serve as my enforcer, my blade. The galaxy will tremble at your name. And when the time is right, we will crush any who oppose us. The Jedi, the Senate, even the stars themselves, they will bow to the will of the Sith. Vader stood tall, his armor sparking, but his spirit unbroken. The last fragments of Anakin Skywalker had been cast into the fire. What rose from the ashes was something else, something darker, something far more dangerous. The dark side wrapped around him like a shroud, and for the first time since Mustafar, he no longer felt broken. He felt whole. "Rise!" Lord Vader, Sidious whispered again, his eyes gleaming. "And together, we shall rule the galaxy." Vader's saber hissed as he deactivated it and clipped it to his belt. He turned toward the chamber doors, his breathing steady. The galaxy would soon learn that Darth Vader had survived. And when it did, there would be no mercy.